I always remember the day Caroline first smiled at me at our friend's party. Her bright eyes and infectious laughter drew me in instantly, and from that moment, I knew she was the one. We built a life together, full of dreams and shared adventures. But life has a way of testing even the strongest bonds. It started with Caroline falling ill. At first, it seemed like just another setback, something we would overcome together as we always had. But her condition worsened, and soon she was admitted to the hospital for what would become an extended stay. Doctors spoke in hushed tones about treatments and possibilities, while I tried to maintain a brave face for her sake. Days turned into weeks, and Caroline's spirits began to flag. The hospital became our second home, the beeping of machines and antiseptic smell a constant reminder of our new reality. It was during one of those long days that I first noticed Dr. Daniel Matthews. Young and charismatic, he seemed to bring a spark of hope into Caroline's eyes whenever he entered the room. I welcomed his expertise at first, grateful for any ray of optimism. But as Caroline's treatments continued, I couldn't help but notice the way she would light up whenever Daniel was around. Their conversations became longer, more animated, often leaving me feeling like an outsider in my own relationship. One afternoon, I decided to surprise Caroline with her favorite flowers, hoping to lift her spirits. As I approached her hospital room, I heard laughter from within. Peering through the partially closed door, I saw Caroline and Daniel sharing a moment that felt too intimate for comfort. My heart sank as I realized that their connection went beyond doctor and patient. Anger and hurt battled within me as I struggled to comprehend what I had witnessed. The woman I loved, who had been my rock through so much, was finding solace in someone else's company. Betrayal gnawed at me, overshadowing the concern I still felt for her health. That evening, after Daniel left and Caroline fell asleep, I confronted her gently about what I had seen. Tears welled up in her eyes as she admitted to the growing bond between them, explaining it as a result of the emotional strain she was under. Her words cut deep, each one a reminder of the fractures in our once solid foundation. We both knew that something irrevocable had shifted between us. Despite my love for her, I couldn't ignore the ache of betrayal. We decided that a temporary separation might give us the clarity we needed to navigate this new reality. It was a decision made out of necessity rather than desire, one that left me questioning everything I thought I knew about love and loyalty. As I drove home that night, the weight of our situation settled heavily on my shoulders. The stars blinked silently overhead, indifferent to the turmoil raging within me. For the first time in years, I felt truly alone, adrift in a sea of uncertainty. The days that followed our decision to take a break felt surreal, as if I were moving through a world that had suddenly lost its color. Work became my refuge, a place where I could momentarily forget the turmoil of my personal life. Yet, thoughts of Caroline and Daniel haunted every spare moment. I tried to distract myself with mundane tasks and social engagements, but their faces lingered in my mind like a persistent shadow. The betrayal stung, but what hurt more was the uncertainty about our future. Could our love withstand this test, or had it already crumbled beneath the weight of Caroline's illness and her newfound connection with Daniel? One evening, unable to shake the nagging thoughts, I found myself driving past the hospital where Caroline was still undergoing treatment. It was late, and the parking lot was mostly deserted. I hesitated, torn between the urge to see her and the fear of what I might find. Finally, gathering my courage, I parked the car and made my way inside. The familiar corridors seemed quieter at night, the sterile smell of disinfectant more pronounced. I approached Caroline's room with cautious steps, unsure of what I hoped to achieve by being there. Through the partially open door, I saw her sitting by the window, her gaze fixed on the city lights beyond. She looked tired but serene, a stark contrast to the emotional storm raging within me. I knocked softly and entered, unsure of how she would react to my unexpected visit. Caroline turned, surprise flickering briefly across her face before it settled into resignation. We exchanged awkward greetings, the air heavy with unspoken words. I struggled to find the right thing to say, wanting desperately to bridge the growing distance between us. After a moment of tense silence, Caroline spoke softly, her voice tinged with remorse. She apologized for the pain she had caused, acknowledging the complexity of her feelings for Daniel amidst the chaos of her illness. Her words were like a knife twisting in my gut, reopening wounds I had tried to ignore. I listened in silence, my own emotions a turbulent mix of anger, sadness, and lingering love. Despite everything, I couldn't bring myself to hate her. Instead, I found myself longing for the simplicity of our earlier years, when our biggest challenges had been trivial compared to the current turmoil. As we talked, a sense of inevitability settled between us. Caroline's bond with Daniel had irreversibly altered our relationship, leaving us both grappling with what had been lost. We agreed to give each other space, to allow time for wounds to heal and hearts to mend, though whether they could mend together remained uncertain. Leaving the hospital that night, I felt a strange mixture of relief and desolation. Seeing Caroline had provided a fleeting sense of closure, yet it also underscored the enormity of the rift between us. Driving home through the silent streets, I wondered how we had come to this point, and whether we could ever find our way back to each other. The days that followed our decision to take a break felt surreal, as if I were moving through a world that had suddenly lost its color. Work became my refuge, a place where I could momentarily forget the turmoil of my personal life. Yet thoughts of Caroline and Daniel haunted every spare moment. I tried to distract myself with mundane tasks and social engagements, but their faces lingered in my mind like a persistent shadow. The betrayal stung, but what hurt more was the uncertainty about our future. Could our love withstand this test, or had it already crumbled beneath the weight of Caroline's illness and her newfound connection with Daniel? One evening, unable to shake the nagging thoughts, I found myself driving past the hospital where Caroline was still undergoing treatment. It was late, and the parking lot was mostly deserted. I hesitated, torn between the urge to see her and the fear of what I might find. Finally, gathering my courage, I parked the car and made my way inside. The familiar corridors seemed quieter at night, the sterile smell of disinfectant more pronounced. I approached Caroline's room with cautious steps, unsure of what I hoped to achieve by being there. Through the partially open door, I saw her sitting by the window, her gaze fixed on the city lights beyond. She looked tired but serene, a stark contrast to the emotional storm raging within me. I knocked softly and entered, unsure of how she would react to my unexpected visit. Caroline turned, surprise flickering briefly across her face before it settled into resignation. We exchanged awkward greetings, the air heavy with unspoken words. I struggled to find the right thing to say, wanting desperately to bridge the growing distance between us. After a moment of tense silence, Caroline spoke softly, her voice tinged with remorse. She apologized for the pain she had caused, acknowledging the complexity of her feelings for Daniel amidst the chaos of her illness. Her words were like a knife twisting in my gut, reopening wounds I had tried to ignore. I listened in silence, my own emotions a turbulent mix of anger, sadness, and lingering love. Despite everything, I couldn't bring myself to hate her. Instead, I found myself longing for the simplicity of our earlier years, when our biggest challenges had been trivial compared to the current turmoil. As we talked, a sense of inevitability settled between us. Caroline's bond with Daniel had irreversibly altered our relationship, leaving us both grappling with what had been lost. We agreed to give each other space, to allow time for wounds to heal and hearts to mend, though whether they could mend together remained uncertain. Leaving the hospital that night, I felt a strange mixture of relief and desolation. Seeing Caroline had provided a fleeting sense of closure, yet it also underscored the enormity of the rift between us. Driving home through the silent streets, I wondered how we had come to this point, and whether we could ever find our way back to each other. The weeks turned into months, as I tried to rebuild my life without Caroline. Work became my sanctuary, a place where I could bury myself in tasks and temporarily forget the ache in my heart. Friends offered support, their well-meaning words a balm to my wounded pride, but the emptiness remained. Occasionally I would hear updates about Caroline through mutual friends. She was still in treatment, making slow but steady progress. Each piece of news brought a conflicting mix of relief and resentment. I wanted her to recover, of course, but couldn't shake the bitterness of how our relationship had unraveled. One evening, a friend mentioned in passing that Caroline had been discharged from the hospital. The news hit me unexpectedly, stirring a tumult of emotions I had tried to bury. Part of me wanted to reach out, to see how she was faring on her own. Another part feared what such a meeting might uncover. Unable to resist the pull any longer, I found myself driving to the Café C, where we had shared countless lazy Sunday afternoons. It was a crisp autumn day, the air tinged with the promise of winter, The Cafe CC looked unchanged, a familiar refuge from the outside world. I spotted Caroline sitting alone at our favorite corner table, her gaze distant as she stared out the window. She looked frail but determined, a reminder of the strength she had always possessed. Taking a deep breath, I approached cautiously, unsure of how she would react to my presence. Her eyes widened in surprise as she saw me, a flicker of emotions crossing her face before settling into resignation. We exchanged awkward greetings, the air thick with unspoken apologies and regrets. Despite everything, I was struck by how familiar she still felt, like a piece of me that had been missing. We talked cautiously at first, skirting around the painful truths that lay between us. Caroline spoke of her recovery journey, the challenges she had faced since leaving the hospital. Her voice was tinged with gratitude for those who had supported her, but I couldn't help but wonder where I fit into her new life. As the afternoon wore on, our conversation shifted to more personal topics. Caroline admitted to the guilt she felt over what had happened with Daniel, the way their connection had bloomed amidst the chaos of her illness. She spoke of her uncertainty about the future, her fear of repeating past mistakes. I listened in silence, my heart aching with empathy and lingering affection. Despite the hurt she had caused, I couldn't deny the love that still lingered beneath the surface. In that moment, I realized how much I missed her, how much I wanted to believe in the possibility of forgiveness and reconciliation. Before parting ways, we made a tentative agreement to stay in touch, to slowly rebuild the bridges that had been burned. It wasn't a promise of reconciliation, but rather a cautious step towards understanding and closure. As I drove home that evening, the weight of our conversation settled heavily on my shoulders. The road ahead remained uncertain, fraught with the challenges of rebuilding trust and navigating our tangled emotions. Yet, for the first time in months, I allowed myself to hope that maybe, just maybe, our story wasn't over yet. The weeks that followed our tentative agreement were a delicate dance of rediscovery and restraint. Caroline and I exchanged occasional texts and calls, cautiously navigating the fragile remnants of our relationship. Each interaction carried the weight of unspoken words and unresolved emotions, yet there was a tentative hope that began to bloom amidst the wreckage. One crisp Saturday morning, I found myself at a local park where Caroline had suggested we meet for coffee. The air was brisk with the promise of spring, a stark contrast to the heaviness in my heart. As I approached our designated meeting spot, I saw her sitting at a secluded bench, her gaze fixed on the distant horizon. Caroline looked up as I approached, a hesitant smile tugging at the corners of her lips. We exchanged awkward pleasantries, the silence punctuated by the rustling of leaves and distant chirping of birds. I couldn't help but notice how tired she looked, the shadows beneath her eyes a testament to the battles she had fought. We spoke tentatively at first, skirting around the edges of what had brought us here. Caroline shared snippets of her life since we had last seen each other, her ongoing recovery, the challenges of adjusting to life outside the hospital, and the tentative steps she was taking towards rebuilding her independence. I listened intently, my heart torn between empathy and the lingering ache of betrayal. Despite everything, I couldn't deny the flicker of hope that stirred within me. Maybe, just maybe, there was a way forward for us, a chance to mend what had been broken. As the morning wore on, our conversation deepened, delving into the raw emotions that had kept us apart. Caroline spoke of her regrets and the pain she had caused, her voice wavering with the weight of her words. She apologized again for the hurt she had inflicted, her eyes brimming with unshed tears. In that moment, something shifted between us. The barriers we had erected began to crumble, replaced by a tentative sense of understanding and forgiveness. I found myself opening up as well, sharing my own struggles and doubts, the wounds that still felt raw despite the passage of time. Hours passed in a blur as we talked, the sun climbing higher in the sky overhead. It was as if time had suspended around us, creating a space where past grievances and future uncertainties faded into insignificance. For the first time in months, I allowed myself to believe that maybe, just maybe, we could find our way back to each other. As we parted ways that afternoon, there was a newfound lightness in my heart. The road ahead remained uncertain, fraught with challenges and the need for healing. Yet for the first time since Caroline's illness had shattered our world, I felt a glimmer of hope, a fragile beacon guiding us towards a future where forgiveness and love might prevail. The weeks that followed our meeting in the park brought a delicate balance of hope and apprehension. Caroline and I cautiously navigated the path towards reconciliation, each step forward tempered by the scars of our past. We spent more time together, tentatively rekindling the routines and inside jokes that once defined our relationship. One evening, Caroline invited me to her new apartment, a modest space filled with sunlight and the scent of freshly brewed coffee. As I stepped inside, I couldn't help but marvel at how she had managed to create a sanctuary amidst the chaos of her recovery. Pictures adorned the walls, capturing moments from our happier times and reminding me of the love we had shared. Over dinner, we talked openly about the challenges we had faced and the wounds that still lingered. Caroline spoke of her ongoing therapy sessions and the strides she was making towards healing, both physically and emotionally. Her resilience was both inspiring and humbling, a testament to the strength that had drawn me to her in the first place. As the evening wore on, our conversation turned to more personal topics. We spoke of our hopes and fears for the future, the tentative dreams we had once shared, and the uncertainties that now colored them. It was a raw and vulnerable exchange, each word a step towards understanding and forgiveness. At one point, Caroline reached across the table and took my hand in hers, a simple gesture that spoke volumes. In that moment, I felt a rush of emotions, gratitude for her willingness to rebuild, awe at her courage in confronting our shared pain, and a flicker of hope for what lay ahead. As the night drew to a close, I found myself reluctant to leave. The walls that had once felt like barriers now seemed like the foundation of a new beginning. We embraced awkwardly at the door, our hearts heavy with unspoken words and uncharted territory. Yet for the first time in months, I allowed myself to believe that maybe, just maybe, we could find our way back to each other. Driving home that night, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were on the cusp of something fragile and beautiful. The road ahead remained uncertain, fraught with the challenges of rebuilding trust and rediscovering intimacy. Yet, as I navigated the familiar streets, I felt a renewed sense of purpose. A determination to cherish this second chance and to nurture the love that had once defined us. The weeks turned into months as Caroline and I worked to rebuild our relationship from the ashes of betrayal and heartache. Each day brought new challenges and small victories as we navigated the complexities of forgiveness and trust. One weekend we decided to take a trip to the coast a place that had always held special meaning for us. The drive was filled with tentative conversations and shared memories, the weight of our past still lingering between us like a heavy fog. Arriving at our destination, we rented a cozy beach house overlooking the ocean. The salty breeze and rhythmic crash of waves provided a soothing backdrop to our tentative steps towards reconciliation. We spent our days exploring the shoreline hand in hand, rediscovering the easy companionship that had once defined our relationship. One evening, as we sat on the beach watching the sun dip below the horizon, Caroline turned to me with a vulnerability I hadn't seen in months. She spoke of her fears and regrets, of the pain she had caused, and the uncertainty that still plagued her. Her words echoed my own inner turmoil, creating a bridge of understanding between us. I listened intently, my heart swelling with compassion and a renewed sense of connection. In that moment, I realized how much we had both grown since the storm that had shattered our lives. Caroline's strength and resilience filled me with admiration, a reminder of why I had fallen in love with her in the first place. As the days passed, we continued to peel back the layers of our shared history, confronting the hurts and insecurities that had driven us apart. We spoke of our dreams for the future, the tentative plans we dared to make together once more. It was a delicate dance of vulnerability and hope, each step forward a testament to the healing power of love. On our last evening at the beach, we walked along the shoreline beneath a blanket of stars. Caroline reached for my hand, her touch a silent promise of solidarity and commitment. In that quiet moment, as the waves whispered against the shore, I felt a profound sense of peace settle over us. Driving home, I couldn't help but smile at the thought of the future we were beginning to envision together. The road ahead remained uncertain, filled with twists and turns yet to come, but as long as we faced them hand in hand, I knew we could weather any storm that life threw our way. The months that followed our rejuvenating trip to the coast were filled with a delicate balance of rebuilding and rediscovery. Caroline and I navigated our relationship with newfound determination and tenderness, cherishing each moment of healing and growth. One evening, Caroline surprised me with tickets to a concert IEUR, a band we had both loved in our early years together. The venue buzzed with energy as we found our seats, the anticipation palpable. As the music filled the air, I couldn't help but notice how Caroline's eyes sparkled with joy, a stark contrast to the weariness that had clouded them before. During the intermission, we found ourselves standing outside under a canopy of twinkling lights. Caroline turned to me, her expression earnest as she spoke of her gratitude for the second chance we were building together. Her words echoed my own feelings, a testament to the depth of our shared commitment. We danced that night, lost in the music and the closeness we had once feared lost. With each step, I felt a sense of renewal a reaffirmation of the love that had sustained us through the darkest of times. The barriers that had once divided us seemed to melt away, leaving only the undeniable bond that had drawn us together in the first place. As the concert drew to a close, we walked hand in hand through the bustling streets. Caroline leaned into me, her warmth a comforting presence against the cool night air. In that moment, I knew with certainty that our journey was far from over, that we were just beginning to write a new chapter in our shared story. In the days that followed, we continued to nurture our relationship with intention and care. We explored new hobbies together, rediscovering the joy of shared interests. We made plans for the future, tentatively weaving our dreams into a tapestry of hope and possibility. There were still moments of doubt and insecurity, echoes of the past that threatened to resurface. But each time, we faced them together, drawing strength from the lessons we had learned and the love that had carried us through. Driving home one evening, the city lights blurred into a comforting haze as I reflected on how far we had come. The road ahead remained uncertain, filled with twists and turns yet to come. But as long as we faced them together, I knew we could weather any storm that life threw our way. I couldn't have imagined a more perfect evening than the one Caroline and I spent at the outdoor concert. The music had brought us closer than we had been in months, reminding us of the shared passions that once bound us together. As we drove home, the night seemed to stretch out endlessly before us, filled with promise and newfound hope. In the days that followed, our relationship continued to bloom with renewed vigor. We delved deeper into conversations about our future, discussing everything from career aspirations to where we saw ourselves in 5 years. Caroline's determination to rebuild her life after her illness was nothing short of inspiring, and I found myself in awe of her resilience every day. One weekend, we decided to take a spontaneous road trip to a quaint mountain town where we had often talked about visiting during our early years together. The drive was filled with laughter and shared memories, the scenic views providing a picturesque backdrop to our journey. Arriving at our destination, we checked into a charming bed and breakfast overlooking the valley below. The crisp mountain air invigorated us as we explored the town, stopping at local shops and sampling delicious treats from quaint cafes. It felt like a return to simpler times, where our love had blossomed effortlessly amidst the backdrop of a world waiting to be explored. One afternoon, we hiked to a secluded spot overlooking a cascading waterfall. We sat in comfortable silence, the sound of rushing water filling the air around us. Caroline leaned against me, her warmth a comforting presence against the cool mountain breeze. In that moment, surrounded by nature's beauty and the quiet strength of our bond, I felt a profound sense of peace. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, Caroline turned to me with a soft smile. Her eyes shimmered with unshed tears as she spoke of her gratitude for the second chance we had been given. Her words touched me deeply, echoing my own feelings of awe and gratitude for the resilience of our love. That night, as we lay entwined beneath the starlit sky, I realized how far we had come from the darkness that had once threatened to tear us apart. Our journey together had been marked by pain and uncertainty, but it had also been defined by moments of profound connection and unwavering love. Driving home after our mountain retreat, I felt a renewed sense of purpose and commitment. The road ahead remained uncertain, with challenges and obstacles yet to come. But as long as we faced them together, I knew we could overcome anything that stood in our way. The months continued to pass in a whirlwind of shared experiences and deepening intimacy between Caroline and me. Our journey of reconciliation had brought us closer than ever before, weaving together the threads of forgiveness and resilience into the fabric of our renewed relationship. One sunny afternoon, Caroline surprised me with tickets to a local art exhibition, a showcase of contemporary artists whose work we had both admired from afar. The gallery hummed with quiet reverence as we wandered through the exhibits, each piece a reflection of the artist's unique perspective. Standing before a striking abstract painting, Caroline turned to me with a thoughtful expression. She spoke of her own artistic aspirations, the dreams she had set aside during the tumultuous years of her illness and our subsequent struggles. Her words were tinged with a mix of longing and determination, a testament to her unwavering spirit. As we moved from one exhibit to the next, I couldn't help but marvel at Caroline's creativity and depth of insight. Her passion for art had always been a part of what drew me to her, and seeing her reconnect with that passion filled me with a profound sense of joy and pride. After the exhibition, we retreated to a quiet Café C nearby, where we lingered over cups of steaming coffee. Caroline spoke animatedly about her plans to pursue art more seriously, to enroll in classes, set up a studio space, and explore new techniques. Her excitement was infectious, reigniting my own sense of purpose and determination. In that moment, I realized how far we had come from the shattered pieces of our past. Our journey together had been marked by challenges and setbacks, but it had also been defined by moments of profound growth and renewal. Caroline's resilience had been a beacon of light, guiding us through the darkness, reminding me of the depth of our love and the strength of our bond. Driving home that evening, the city lights blurred into a comforting haze as I reflected on the day's events. The road ahead remained uncertain, with new challenges and opportunities waiting to be discovered. But as long as we faced them together, I knew we could embrace whatever the future held, hand in hand. The days turned into weeks, and Caroline's newfound passion for art became a central focus in our lives. She threw herself into her studies with a dedication that both impressed and inspired me. I watched as she transformed our spare room into a makeshift studio, filling it with canvases, paints, and the tools of her trade. Her creativity seemed boundless, each brushstroke a testament to her growing skill and artistic vision. As Caroline immersed herself in her art, I found myself drawn into her world in new and unexpected ways. We spent evenings discussing different art movements, visiting museums and galleries, and debating the merits of abstract versus realism. Our conversations flowed effortlessly, blending intellectual curiosity with a shared sense of wonder at the beauty of the world around us. One weekend, Caroline invited me to accompany her to a local art fair where she was showcasing some of her recent work. The event buzzed with excitement as artists and art enthusiasts mingled under colorful tents. Caroline's pieces drew admiring glances, their vibrant colors and expressive forms capturing the essence of her newfound passion. Seeing Caroline's artwork on display filled me with a swell of pride and admiration. Her journey from illness and despair to this moment of creative fulfillment was nothing short of extraordinary. It was a testament to her resilience and determination to reclaim her life and pursue her dreams. As we strolled through the fair, Caroline introduced me to fellow artists and patrons, her enthusiasm infectious. She spoke passionately about her process and inspirations, her eyes alight with a spark that had been missing for so long. In those moments, I couldn't help but marvel at how far we had come together. Overcoming obstacles, confronting our fears, and emerging stronger and more connected than ever before. That evening, as we sat together in the quiet of our home, Caroline leaned into me with a contented sigh. She spoke softly of her gratitude for my unwavering support and belief in her abilities. Her words touched me deeply, reminding me of the power of love to heal and transform even the deepest wounds. As I held her close, watching the flickering candlelight cast gentle shadows across her face, I knew with certainty that our journey together was far from over. The road ahead would continue to unfold with its twists and turns, challenges and triumphs. But as long as we faced them together, I knew we could weather any storm and savor every moment of joy and growth along the way. The summer sun bathed our world in warmth, echoing the renewed glow in Caroline's eyes as she continued to flourish in her artistic pursuits. Our days were filled with a rhythm of shared activities and quiet moments of reflection, deepening the bond that had been forged through adversity. One afternoon, Caroline surprised me with a picnic in a nearby botanical garden, a tranquil oasis of lush greenery and blooming flowers. We spread out a blanket beneath the shade of a towering oak tree, the scent of jasmine and roses drifting on the gentle breeze. As we enjoyed our meal, Caroline spoke of her latest project a series of paintings inspired by our journey together. She described each piece with a passion that mirrored the depth of her emotions, capturing moments of struggle, healing, and hope. Her artwork had become a powerful expression of our shared experiences, a testament to the transformative power of love. After lunch, we wandered hand in hand through the garden, pausing to admire the vibrant colors and delicate beauty of nature. Carolyn sketched sketches in her notebook, capturing fleeting moments of inspiration with skillful strokes of her pencil. Her creativity seemed boundless, each artwork a reflection of her evolving talent and personal growth. As the day drew to a close, we found ourselves at a tranquil pond surrounded by weeping willows. The setting sun cast a golden glow across the water, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. Caroline sat beside me, her hand resting in mine as we watched a family of ducks glide gracefully across the pond. In that serene moment, surrounded by the beauty of nature and the quiet strength of our love, I felt a deep sense of gratitude and peace. Our journey together had been marked by challenges and uncertainties, but it had also been enriched by moments of profound connection and growth. Caroline's resilience and determination had inspired me to embrace life's uncertainties with courage and hope. As we walked back to the car, the fading light of the sunset casting long shadows behind us, I knew that our story was far from over. The road ahead would continue to unfold with its twists and turns, joys and sorrows. But as long as we faced each new day together, I was confident that our love would continue to flourish, like the vibrant blooms in the garden that had witnessed our journey of renewal. I woke to the sound of rain tapping gently against the window, a soothing rhythm that echoed the peace that had settled over our lives in recent months. Caroline and I had found a comfortable routine, filled with shared moments of laughter, quiet companionship, and the steady growth of her artistic endeavors. One rainy afternoon, as we sat together in our cozy living room, Caroline approached me with a tentative smile. She held out a small, weathered journal the same one she had kept during her darkest days of illness. I watched as she traced her fingers over the worn cover, lost in memories that seemed both distant and achingly close. With a deep breath, Caroline began to read aloud passages from the journal raw and unfiltered reflections of her journey through illness, betrayal, and the slow, painful path to healing. Her voice trembled at times, emotions raw and palpable in the quiet space between us. As I listened, my heart swelled with admiration and love for the woman who had faced her demons with such courage and grace. Caroline's words painted a vivid portrait of resilience, each page a testament to the strength that had carried her through the darkest of times. She spoke of her fears and doubts, of the moments when she had questioned whether she would ever find her way back to herself. But woven throughout the pain were glimmers of hope, a stubborn refusal to surrender to despair, a determination to reclaim her life and rediscover the joy that had once defined her spirit. As she finished reading, Caroline looked up at me with tear-filled eyes. There was a vulnerability in her gaze, a silent plea for understanding and acceptance. In that moment, I felt a surge of gratitude for the privilege of witnessing her journey, of standing by her side as she confronted her past and embraced her future with unwavering courage. Without a word, I reached for her hand, squeezing it gently in silent affirmation of everything she had shared. Our connection felt deeper than ever, anchored in the shared experiences that had shaped us and the unwavering love that had sustained us through it all. That evening, as the rain continued to fall outside, we sat together in a comfortable silence, each lost in our own thoughts. The air felt charged with a sense of renewal, a quiet acknowledgement of how far we had come and the limitless possibilities that lay ahead. As I watched Caroline sketching in her notebook by the soft glow of the lamp, I knew with certainty that our journey together was far from over. The road ahead would undoubtedly present its own challenges and uncertainties, but as long as we faced them together, I was confident that our love would continue to grow stronger, like the steady rain nourishing the earth outside our window. The crispness of autumn settled around us, painting the world in hues of gold and amber. Caroline's artistic journey continued to blossom, each brushstroke a reflection of her evolving skill and newfound confidence. Our days were filled with the comforting routine of shared meals, walks through the neighborhood, and quiet evenings spent in each other's company. One afternoon, Caroline approached me with a glint of excitement in her eyes. She had been invited to participate in a local art exhibition, AUR, a chance to showcase her work alongside other talented artists in our community. The opportunity both thrilled and unnerved her, a mix of pride and apprehension swirling beneath the surface. Together, we visited the gallery where the exhibition would be held AUR, a modern space filled with natural light and minimalist decor. Caroline envisioned how her paintings would look against the pristine white walls, imagining the impact they would have on viewers who wandered through the gallery. In the weeks leading up to the exhibition, Caroline threw herself into preparations with characteristic determination. She worked late into the night, refining her pieces, experimenting with new techniques, and selecting the perfect frames to complement her artwork. Her studio became a sanctuary of creativity, filled with the scent of paint and the soft hum of classical music playing in the background. As the opening day approached, Caroline's nerves were palpable. She questioned her choices, second-guessed her artistic decisions, and fretted over the smallest details. I reassured her with words of encouragement, reminding her of the beauty and depth of her work and the courage it took to share it with the world. On the evening of the exhibition, the gallery buzzed with anticipation. Caroline's paintings, a vibrant mix of abstract landscapes and introspective portraits, drew admirers who lingered before each piece, captivated by the emotions they evoked. I watched with pride as Caroline greeted visitors with a quiet confidence, discussing her inspirations and creative process with a newfound eloquence. As the night wore on, I stole moments to observe Caroline from a distance, marveling at how far she had come since those dark days of illness and uncertainty. Her resilience and artistic growth were nothing short of remarkable, a testament to her unwavering spirit and determination to reclaim her life and passions. At the end of the evening, as we walked hand in hand through the quiet streets, Caroline turned to me with a radiant smile. She spoke of her gratitude for my unwavering support and belief in her talents, EUR, a support that had carried her through moments of doubt and fear. In that moment, I felt a profound sense of fulfillment, knowing that our journey together had brought us to this place of joy and possibility. As we embraced beneath the soft glow of streetlights, I knew that Caroline's artistic journey was far from over. The exhibition had been a milestone AUR, a celebration of her talent and resilience AEUR, but it was also a stepping stone to new adventures and opportunities waiting to be discovered. Together we looked forward to the future, ready to embrace whatever challenges and triumphs lay ahead, hand in hand. I stood by the window, watching the first snowflakes of winter dance in the cold evening air. Caroline's artistic journey had continued to flourish, each day bringing new opportunities and challenges. The success of her exhibition had opened doors to commissions and collaborations, her paintings resonating with a growing audience drawn to the emotional depth and beauty of her work. One evening, as we sat together in front of a crackling fire, Caroline shared news that filled her with a mix of excitement and nervousness. She had been approached by a prestigious art gallery in the city, EUR, a chance to showcase her paintings in a solo exhibition that would be her largest and most significant to date. The invitation came with both validation and pressure AEUR, a recognition of Caroline's talent, and a daunting reminder of the expectations that now surrounded her. We discussed the logistics and preparations, the themes she wanted to explore, and the message she hoped to convey through her art. In the weeks that followed, our home buzzed with creative energy. Caroline spent long hours in her studio, painting with a fervor that bordered on obsession. She experimented with new techniques, delved into deeper themes of identity and resilience, and poured her heart and soul into each canvas. As the opening day of the exhibition approached, Caroline's nerves were palpable once again. She questioned her choices, agonized over the arrangement of her paintings, and rehearsed her artist statement with meticulous care. I stood by her side, offering encouragement and support, reminding her of the strength and beauty of her artistic vision. The night of the exhibition arrived amidst a flurry of anticipation. The gallery glowed with soft lighting, the walls adorned with Caroline's paintings. AUR, each one a testament to her journey of healing and growth. Visitors streamed in, drawn by the allure of her art, the depth of emotion evident in every brushstroke. Caroline moved through the gallery with grace and confidence, engaging with admirers who were moved by the raw honesty and vulnerability of her work. She spoke passionately about her inspirations, AUR, the trials and triumphs that had shaped her artistic voice, EUR, and the importance of resilience in the face of adversity. As I watched Caroline interact with guests, her eyes alight with passion and purpose, I felt an overwhelming sense of pride. Her journey from illness to artistic acclaim was a testament to the power of perseverance and the transformative nature of creativity. She had not only reclaimed her life, but had also found a profound sense of fulfillment in sharing her story through art. At the end of the evening, as we stood together beneath the soft glow of gallery lights, Caroline turned to me with tears glistening in her eyes. She spoke of her gratitude for my unwavering support and belief in her talents, EUR, a support that had carried her through moments of doubt and fear and had now led her to this moment of triumph. In that quiet embrace, surrounded by the echoes of praise and admiration, I knew that Caroline's artistic journey was far from over. The exhibition had been a milestone, AEUR, a celebration of her talent and resilience, AEUR, but it was also a beginning. Together, we looked forward to the future, ready to embrace whatever challenges and triumphs lay ahead, hand in hand.